Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. It's the first episode of whatever this is going to turn out to be. Maker to Maker, where I sit and talk with amazing makers from around the internet. And first guest is Whitney from SmokingGlueGuns. Everybody say hi.
Hi. Oh, wait, I'm not supposed to say hi. It's like, you can do so much better, my dude.
No, are you serious? I love your content. You are the best.
I am a hot mess wrapped in a fudge sundae, is
Yes.
how I like to refer to it.
Yes, because that's 100% like my brand too. I have no idea what I'm doing, but like, here we go.
It's like, we're just going to make it work, and it's going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, you are... Let's run down the litany of all the things.
The chaos that it is that I create?
Yes.
I mean, do we want the short version or the long version? How much time we got?
A couple hours?
So I make handcrafted jewelry out of polymer clay and resin. I also make handcrafted resin dice and accessories. I also make handcrafted soaps. Sometimes I do cosplay nonsense. It's a little bit all over the place. It's whatever I feel like making that day. That also is profitable if I can put my hands on it.
Nice. So like just whimsical makery.
Whimsical. I like on the back of my business card it says maker of weird things, and I feel like that's the best description I can give because it's not any one particular thing, it's things that I like. And I hope other people like it too.
I constantly refer to my maker spaces as just like the hyperfixation station.
Oh my god, that's such a mood.
Because it's just like whatever just happens to like grab me that minute.
Legit.
And I'm like, oh, I got 3 orders, but like this is really shiny.
It's like, but perfect example. I was on a TikTok live last night, and someone brought up the Marriott carpet from Dragon Con. And it got stuck in my head, and I was like, wait, we can make dice out of that. And I went down a rabbit hole where I then ordered the stuff I need to do dice blanks so I can make like Marriott carpet dice that appeals to like such a tiny fraction of the but I was like, no, the idea must be made now.
Right?
It has to happen.
But like niche dice are such a great thing because like most people will pass it over, but then you'll get like that one person that just absolutely goes, I get that reference. I know what these dice are. And you're like, yes, I made them for you, specifically for you.
The thing I like to tell people at shows, because it's when you do in-person events, you have like a whole spiel that I go through, and it's usually like, everything is handcrafted, you're welcome to touch, poke, prod, roll, all that fun jazz. I won't stop you, but I will encourage bad and expensive decisions. And it's usually how it goes. But like, I keep all the really weird stuff hidden behind the table. So like the booby dice and the dick dice and the teeth, like all that stays back, but like you have the rotating demon child on his pedestal. So like, I don't just have all of it out, and if you give me an entry point, we will go down that rabbit hole, and it's like watching people's eyes light up when they're like, oh, you don't just make pretty shit. I'm like, no.
Yeah. No.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love pretty dice. My collection is entirely pretty dice, but there's so many pretty dice makers, and it's kind of fun to be like the weirdo. Like, I'm just gonna be the weird one, making my teeth dice.
That's frequently as whenever you come up on my For You page, and like most recently was the teeth thing, and I was just like, I like physically just like, Jesus, again, you've done it to me.
It's like, so I have them in 2 different variants, and I react differently to each of them. I've got like the regular ones where it's got like the blood coming out of them, and like those are objectively very cool. Like, they're gross but cool. But when you see them all in the chunk where it's just full of, it makes me so uncomfortable. Like, and I made it, and it makes me uncomfortable.
Just Guillermo del Toro dice. You're just like this. Just like, yes, I appreciate the artistry involved, but make it stop looking at me.
Legit, dude, that was the eyeballs. That was 100% the second Dad popped it out. I was like, what have I done? How far is too far? I don't know, but we're gonna find out together.
Oh, God.
It's like I will find a way to at least go too far and monetize it.
Yes. I mean, like, the thing is, if you're gonna shock and awe, you might as well, pay rent with it.
Oh my god, legitimately. Oh, that being said, there was someone on TikTok the other day who posted, they were Nicolas Cage dice, but like they covered the dice in Nicolas Cage's face. So like every time you rotated them, it was just Nicolas Cage. And I was like, that's, as the person who is the resident queen of cursed D&D TikTok, I concede. That's horrible. I hate it. Like, I love it, but I hate it. The crown is yours now. Don't make me carry this poll.
Oh god, like that's I can't one up that. But also, yay, I get to pass the torch.
Oh, like legitimately, I'm just like, what can I do? What can I do to make it worse? A tiny part of me is like, Dad popped into my live today when I was making like soap because I'm insane, and I was like, let's make 100 bars of soap in 2 days. Like, it's like not 27 other things I have to do. And he was like, oh, you should let your chat choose the next thing that I demold out of the die. And I was like, you don't want to give them that power. That is not a smart decision.
No. Like, it doesn't matter the location or the chat. Chat is cursed.
I was like, you don't want me to do that. You don't want me to give them that sort of control. It's gonna end bad. They're gonna make me put your face in it. Like, that's what's gonna be what happens. Is you're gonna demold it, like open it, and it'll just be his own face looking out of the die.
Oh, just this moment of absolute existential dread.
Oh my goodness.
So as somebody who's like, I primarily make and sell and do everything from home in ratty sweatpants. What's it like doing like show circuits?
It's amazing and stressful and frustrating all at the same time. Because I don't, in case it wasn't evident from like the last 37 minutes of us chatting before we went live, I don't know how to stop talking. So if you put me in a situation where I can talk to people, I'm not gonna shut up. It's just gonna keep going like word vomit. But it's also, I struggle to sell online. Like, I did a shop update this past week, and I think I made like one sale, and it was like to a friend who was very kind, because I was like, oh, we did a shop update, nothing happened. And in person, I think there's that connection that you can make with people where you can see the joy or the just like the visceral love I have for what I do. It comes off in spades when I can be like, look at this cool thing I made. Can we talk about it? 'Cause it's freaking cool. So like, I love being able to do that. And that connection is so much different in person. Don't get me wrong. There's the added stress of like COVID and monkeypox and people, but it's like, I do the best I can to stay as safe as I can. So it's the testing before and after shows, and making sure that I'm up to date on all my vaccines, and masking, and keeping myself, I set my booth up so that there's like a solid like 3 to 4 feet away from people, and I can only get so close. So it's like keeping all of those things in mind. It can be a lot, but it's also, at least for me, very rewarding.
That's what I find too. Like, internet sales is very hard.
It's hard
for talkers.
Yes.
Because
I can't talk to you about my cool teeth dice through a picture. I can just post a picture and hope you also think it's cool.
And it's just like, for the longest time, I tried to get into making and selling and stuff, and it's just like, you can't just like walk into a community and just be like, I have things, buy them. Yeah,
no. The thing I have found in the last 2 years is people don't get me wrong, to some degree, there are some things that you need to buy. Like, I need to buy toilet paper. I don't need the toilet paper to sell me a story, but when I'm buying things, especially things that are more higher priced, like dice, handcrafted dice aren't cheap, and I'm fully aware of that. Even low priced handcrafted dice aren't cheap. So people don't necessarily want to buy the dice as much as they want to be a part of the story, is a thing that I found. They want to be a part of the journey. They want to understand who they're supporting. All of those things are it's more than just this purchase that I've made. There's being part of all of that. If that made any sense of word soup vomit.
Yes. Well, it's just like, I do glass etching primarily, and that is 100% a luxury item.
Mhm.
You know, nobody's quality of life is going to go down because they couldn't get like my newest caution I flirt in a blast radius scotch glass. You know what I'm saying? So it's very
Yeah.
much like you have to be a part of the community. You have
Oh yeah.
to, for the most part, do a song and a dance.
Yeah,
You know,
there's a performative element to it. I had that conversation at my last show with a fellow vendor who was struggling to a degree. And she was just like, "Well, like, do you have any tips or trips or advice?" And I was like, "You need to think of it as like as sort of a," and I think being from the theater community helped a lot with that, is there's a performative element to it. There's an energy that you have to exude. Like, I'll regularly get asked by other vendors, "Do you want to go out and get drink?" No, I want to go to the hotel and I want to decompress
mm-hmm,
because I've spent the last 8 hours effectively putting on a show for people.
mm-hmm,
And as much as I love that show, I now need to go reset those batteries so I can do it again tomorrow.
mm-hmm. It's just like people here, you have to be, performative, and they think used car salesman, they think, and it's like, no,
No.
no, you're just a heightened version of you cranked up to 12.
I refer to it as Whitney Plus.
Yeah, and you're
It's
just,
Whitney Plus.
you're a caricature of your day-to-day self, and
Yeah.
you're big and you're bombastic, and you're trying to get the attention of people two booths down.
Oh yeah. It's the amplified version of yourself, or as we talked about beforehand, it's you on Monster.
Yes.
That's what it is. It's you on Toucan's Monster, maybe a Red Bull.
Mm-hmm. And then it's
Bonus
just like,
points if you've had decent convention center food, which does not exist.
ugh. And it's just like at the end of the day, it's just like, you just want to crash.
Uh-huh.
Because you've been running a million miles an hour while standing in one spot,
Yeah.
saying the
And you
same
don't
sentence
realize it.
1,500 times,
Uh-huh.
and you're just burnt out.
Oh yeah. The guys at the booth next to me at like the end of day 2, because it was like a 3-day show. At the end of day 2, he like looked at me and just goes, "How are you not dead?" And I was like, "I don't, what are you talking about?" He's like, "You've been running a million miles an hour since we opened doors." And I was like, yeah, but I also did like 45 sales in a day.
Mm-hmm.
So like yes, that burn is exhausting. Like, I will go back to my room and literally you'll pull up, a lot of times it's I have fallen asleep watching many a Twitch streamer.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just put on someone playing like World of Warcraft, or like The Sims is really bad for me because like I want to play but I don't have the energy to play, so I'll fall asleep watching someone else play.
Yep. I constantly, that's like, what was it? I did my first like con experience after getting some attention online was PAX Unplugged in like 2019.
Oh wow.
And it was just like, I kind of blown up to like 4,000 people following me on Twitter and stuff, and it was just like the amount of running around, not even selling, god, I can't even imagine. But just the running around and having to, song and dance and shake hands and take pictures. It's just like, it's unbelievably exhausting. And it's just like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the thing where like I take giveaway stuff. I don't have anything to sell, but like I'll have some niche little thing that I'll give away, and then give with a card. And first con, my intelligent ass was just like, I've never played with resin before, so I should totally do that.
Oh, no.
I took and I etched 60 mini potion bottles.
You're insane.
With corks and like little twine ties around the top, and I etched 30 with like a home designed health potion logo.
Yeah.
And 30 with like a mana potion logo. And then I filled them with red and blue resin. And then I'm like, sweet, now I have to get these from California to Philly. And
it's
so
like, he made big brain decisions.
Yeah, and then it's like, once you get them there, you don't realize you're going to be walking around a convention center with a backpack full of resin and glass.
Uh-huh.
And it weighs a metric ton. And you're just constantly tweeting like, "Hey, I'm the guy with the beard and the purple hair, and I've got, if you want a magic potion, come say hi to me, and I'll give you a magic potion." Little did I know, there's an abundance of white dudes with beards and purple hair. And I accidentally ruined the convention for a guy named Snuggy, who was constantly getting inundated with, "Dude, can I have a potion bottle?"
I suppose it's the one advantage to like being at a booth versus wandering is like there's a point of people to find me, and also this is gonna sound so bad, and I mean it in the most positive way I can. There's a limit to how many weird loud brown girls are selling dice on a con floor. Like usually there's only so many handcrafted dice makers, and if there's more than one, I'm usually the only brown one. So like I'm pretty easy to find. And on top of that, the thing that I picked to give away at the booth, if you find me and like you find the baby die, and you mention TikTok, you end up, I have a bag full of tiny babies, so I'll just give people tiny plastic babies at the booth, because like you're gonna remember where you got that from.
Yeah.
Like, where you're gonna remember. That's been the other weird thing since the whole like TikTok of it all happened, has been like I've been doing shows since 2020. Granted, if you look at my original booth versus what I do now, it's completely different product and stuff and things. But it's been watching that evolution happen, and then watching TikTok and how that's impacted the way that I sell now too. Because like now the getting recognized thing happens, and that's really weird. Like it's cool, but it's very weird as a person who doesn't. It's one thing when you can like look at your screen and be like, "This is my follower count," and then like when you get to have an interaction with a person who's like, "No, I follow you, your stuff is awesome," like you can put faces to the numbers, and it's all fun and games until someone screams glue guns at you from like across the convention floor. You're like, "Oh, this is real now." Okay. I'm not just making dice in my bedroom. There's humans actually watching.
My just like embarrassing, overwhelming experience was the main reason I went to PAX Unplugged in 2019 was a bunch of makers that I knew in the space were doing a panel on how to do the thing, sell the thing, on the internet, how to be a seller. And I was like, I need to go and listen to these people talk. And I'd kind of blown up on the scene a little bit after the panel was cemented. So like I knew all of them personally. And I was like, sweet, now I'm gonna go support my friends and listen to them like talk about, give me good advice. And as I walk into the panel, it's filled up real fast, and I'm jet lagged. I literally just got off the plane, hopped a taxi, flew to the hotel I was staying out, changed out my stuff real fast. I had shipped some glass there because I had a bunch of stuff I wanted to give to friends. Changed everything out and just hauled ass to the convention center, get downstairs and start to go into the panel. And as I walk past the stage, one of the people I knew on the panel stands up and goes, "Hey, not for nothing, but like, can we all just recognize that he should be up?" And just starts singling me out in front of this room full of people. And I'm just like, could you not right now? Please.
It's like, please don't make this about me.
No, like I'm just gonna go sit in the back. Thank you, I hate you, but thank you, but I hate you.
It's wild when you don't realize like I actively try to avoid thinking about it, because if I do, I get way too overwhelmed and emotional, and then imposter syndrome brain kicks in like a son of a bitch. And I'm just like, "Yeah, it's fine. We're not. It's fine."
Yep.
Ooh, on the subject of your glass stuff, which, side note, I absolutely love your work, but would you like to know something mildly entertaining?
Yes.
So when I first started vending at my very first table, my table was covered in glass etchings, because that is what I used to do.
Really?
I did. I used to do, I used a lot of armor etch, and then I would hand etch using a Dremel, because I was insane. I would do maps from video games.
Ooh.
So at one point there's way back in my feed, like you'd have to scroll a long time. But I hand Dremeled the map of Skyrim onto like a 24 by like 18 pane of glass, and then it broke in shipping. so I got to do it again.
Oh god. Oh.
I literally, like, just off screen, there is piles of my old etch work that just never sold, that's just hanging off in a shelf somewhere. And it's like, the tiny part of me is like, at some point I want to go to a rage room and just bring all my own glass and just be like, we're just gonna smash some shit today.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, I used to do glass etching, so I feel you fundamentally. There's a bottle of armor etched sitting out of frame in my lab.
The shipping aspect of it is just
like, there's a reason we stopped.
Oh god, what, like, the worst story, and they didn't even break. A customer ordered a full set, like 9 beer mugs, front and back etched, with characters' portraits from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh god.
So just like Buffy, Cordelia, Angel, Spike, Xander, Willow, John, like the whole crew. And then on the back of the mug was like that BVS logo. And like, I got it done, super packed it, shipped it out. About a week later I get an email. The client received a pressure cooker. It was in the right box. The box was ratty, but they received a pressure cooker. And they were like, I've bought from you before, so I know you're not messing around, but like, this happened. What do we do? And I'm just like, panic mode. Start the process all over again. I will get the new ones made and shipped to you ASAP.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and like, the only thing I can think of is like somebody hit a pallet of post with a forklift or something, and everything just got spilled, and they were just like, sure, this goes in this box, whatever.
Oh no. The worst, it's honestly, this one's the reason I stopped doing massive international orders, is because like, I get so stressed shipping things out of the country, because there's so many different rules and regulations. I barely understand US rules and regulations. So then you add in different countries, and it gets so much more complicated. And I had someone commission a set of dice, where they wanted, effectively we were doing like, Pirate's Treasure themed liquid cores. Super great. It was like a dark blue core and like an ocean green shell with like gold leafing around it, and then I made the coin to look like a gold coin. And it was stunning. It's one of my favorite sets I think I've ever made. Shipped it off to Poland. It took a month to get there, normal for international shipping, but it gets there, and she goes, so I have good news and I have bad news. And I was like, oh no. She goes, yeah, no, I got the dice, they look stunning. 3 of them cracked in transit because temperature regulations and liquid cores, and she ordered them at winter, and they sat in a pallet on the ocean apparently and froze and expanded and cracked because such is the nature of the game. And I was like, please reach out to me again in the summertime and I will send them to you when the weather's warmer. That's the best I got.
Oh, God.
But I had to like completely remake the whole dice set, and it's not like a thing where you can just like crap it out and then immediately say, it's like, no, it's gotta like be made. If I don't have the cores, I've got to order the cores, then prep the cores, then make the dice, then let them sit, then sand them, then ink them, then it's a whole
yeah.
It reminds me of every time I get a comment where they watch you demold it and they're like, oh, but the numbers aren't colored. It's like, because dude, you're on step 3 of about 22.
Yeah.
We'll get the numbers.
Oh god, like the armchair artists. Like, you love as a maker to share your process, but with that comes like a subsection of armchair makers and backseaters.
Or this is what I would do.
Oh god.
Like, I didn't necessarily share my art for you to tell me, or like if I'm sharing something that went wrong, chances are I know what went wrong and how to fix it. I am showing that like I am, because like a lot of times on social media you find yourself only sharing the good stuff, and I actively try to not do that when I have the opportunity to do so. Like if I fuck up because I didn't think about something, I'm going to show you that, because it's important for other artists to know, hey,
yeah,
this is normal. It's gonna happen. Don't stress out about it. But like that also means there's people like, oh well, I would have done, but no, that's not why this is here.
Yeah.
Please
and it's just like, sometimes we just like to commiserate. Sometimes we like to post failures and get like it's rough, buddy.
Oh my god, well, yeah, 100%. It didn't.
Like, we're not looking for advice, or just like the ones where you're just vibing and doing the thing you've been doing for 10 years,
Yeah.
and people are like, yeah, I know.
Oh, it's always really good when it starts with, at least in my territory, it's I don't make dice, but like, how do you make sure that those are balanced? And I'm like,
Oh god.
you started that sentence with "I don't make dice," so we're gonna start with not acknowledging your comment.
The level of sphincter puckering frustration that I see in the dice maker community, that whenever inevitably the word balance comes up with
Oh my god.
everyone, and it's just
It's
like, are you playing D&D at a casino?
It's high stakes D&D. Did you not know this?
Like,
Look, I gotta make sure that my D20 is 100% balanced. So that way when I crit fail, you know, it's a valid crit fail.
right? I'm like,
or the do you saltwater check your dice? No. Do you know how many dice I make? No, I do not have time for that.
oh,
I cannot be. Well, aside from the fact that that test in itself, I don't know where it got popularity from, but it's like, one, alkalinity is a thing that exists. So, like, water in California or Texas or Illinois or South Carolina, it's all could be slightly different.
mm-hmm.
And then let's say what salt you use, that could also completely change it. And also, are you rolling your dice in salt water at your table? Because if you are, I have questions.
Yeah. Like,
So, like, all of it doesn't make any sense.
is your D&D group like having you hand over your new dice whenever you bring them to the table and just be like, we have to check your dice? Like, that's group trust.
We have to make sure.
Y'all have trust issues, and like, you really need to work on that.
I had a guy at my show at Gen Con in Raleigh. And I'm usually by myself, but I had a friend with me, and she physically had to like do physical contact with me because she could sense that I was about to lose my goddamn mind. And the guy came up and he's like looking at my Pokemon dice. And I specifically, when I'm talking about them, make sure that I tell people, it's like, oh, well, the Pokemon are 3D printed in resin, and hopefully their brain goes when I say these are handcrafted resin dice, and that's an insert that's been 3D printed in resin. People will make the smart brain connection and be like, oh, cool, resin doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, someone picks up and goes, oh, they're so pretty, but I can tell that it's weighted. And I was like, except it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, it was like, but how do you know? Well, because I made it. And I'm telling you it's not.
There's just a secret conspiracy among a cabal of handcrafted dice makers to just
we're
slightly
all
off balance and remove all of the crits from the D&D community.
We're all secretly putting metal into our dice. Did you not know this? We had a meeting. And the meeting was put metal in all of your dice and sell them to everyone unbeknownst.
Yes.
So when they use handcrafted dice at their tables.
Yes, everybody will start failing all of their rolls, and we as the dice makers
to kill. It's only if you play barbarians. We just only want barbarians to die.
Mm-hmm. I kind of want to see that as a thing now.
It's so hard. I've tried.
Like, well, I just want to see like skits of like dice maker conspiracies.
God, yes.
Like, just all of the dice makers in the online spaces just do videos where you're just round tabling, like, okay, so we're messing with rangers this month.
How will we make them mad this month? I know. We're just gonna fill our dice with all of the glitter, and even though we've put glitter in it, and the glitter and the resin are at equal ratios, and it doesn't matter, we're gonna tell them that it's metal glitter. Or just like we'll make dice where every number is like a 7.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like not quite a fail, but definitely not succeeding. Everything's a 7.
Oh no, all the dice makers in the chat are taking notes about forming a secret cabal.
I was like, oh no, I've revealed the secrets of the council. I've revealed everything. I'm sorry. I'm going to be exiled.
Oh
goodness.
Being a maker is wild.
It's yeah. It's also weird because I stumbled into this by accident in a weird sort of. I feel like so many of my maker friends have like not exactly the same story, but we're all just like, we all sort of stumble into it by accident in a weird sort of like I have a degree in live production and events. I was working Broadway shows and stuff. Like I worked at Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines and off Broadway and at theme parks and traveled and toured and all that. There's a whole wild story where I worked for Hello Kitty Super Cute Friendship Festival. That's a whole. We can go down that rabbit hole if you want. But I've done a lot of that stuff, and I've always been a crafty, creative person. But it's one of those things where like being an artist is two things: time intensive and expensive. And I never had the time or the space or the money to do it. And then this tiny little like panorama thing happened, and suddenly I had so much time. So I started sewing. I think face masks is how it started, because my mom asked me to make them and she knew I could sew. So at that time no one had them, but we all needed them. So I was making face masks, and I blew up because someone shared my shop because I was a person of color and they wanted to like support shops of color. And I ended up having enough money to finally play with resin, which is what I'd always wanted to play with. But like resin's not like, my friend who makes stickers and stuff, his brain was blown when I was like, yeah, no, a gallon of resin can cost me anywhere between like $95 and $110 a gallon, depending on what brand I'm using at the time. He's like, what? And I was like, yeah, there's a reason why dice are priced where they're priced at. It's not because we're lying or manipulating you. It's because our materials are fucking expensive. But like I stumbled into it by accident and just kept going. Because what else were we all doing at that time? And it just sort of snowballed into what it is now, which is like, no one believes me when I tell them this happened by accident. They're like, it was all clearly no, I'm not that smart. If I was,
well, that's things like how many things you have to throw at the wall as a crafter. That you're just like, oh, I do a little bit of this, I do it. Like everybody's just like, oh, you do all of this other stuff, but you sell dice, but you do all of this other stuff. Like, yeah, because for some reason dice is the one thing that caught. Yeah, like it could have been 1,000 of the other talents that I picked up along the way, but like for some reason it was this, and I was just like, cool, I'll use this to fund the rest of the shit that I do.
Yeah, it's like the soaps I genuinely probably get the most joy out of making. They don't sell as well as everything else does, but they're the thing that like I keep them in there, not necessarily because they are the most profitable item that I make, but because I enjoy making them. And when that stops, I will stop. And that's kind of been how I've looked at things. Like I loved glass etching, and it was a lot of fun, and it was great, and I'm glad that I have that skill set should I be in a project where I need to use it. But I wasn't getting the same joy out of it, and it also wasn't working for me. And doing the convention circuit with glass, I did like 6 months of shows, and I broke so many pieces. I had this like gorgeous piece I did where it was Daenerys Targaryen, and it was just like a still, and I cut out all the vinyl and attached it to the glass and did the whole situation, and like got to a show, was setting everything up, small child bumped my table, it went belly up onto concrete, and I wanted to cry. So I'm like, you just gotta, it's fine, because some people are like, oh well, the frame that you bought was only like $1.50. I was like, yes, but like, do you know the literal amount of hours that went into the one?
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I do mostly barware, and like you can get barware, $10 for a case, depending on the glass, but it's just like the process of sitting down and designing a thing, because like I've been doing this since I was 15, so it is drastically different than how I was apprenticed to glass etch, because I've always used a blaster, but it's like when I was apprenticed, it was you either hand drew or you traced onto like contact vinyl, like shelf paper vinyl, and then stick that to glass and hand cut it out, the design with an X-Acto knife. So I did that for years. Like I've done like 5,000 to 6,000 pieces where everything's hand cut before I sandblast it.
That's insane.
And and then vinyl cutters came out.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's easier, but like it comes with its own, like any of the super intricate designs I do, I still have to hand cut them because the vinyl cutters just won't do it.
Especially if it's like small.
Mm-hmm. And you always get those people that, like, I always make this joke too. They're just like, "Can you do RoboCop riding a unicorn on a shot glass?" And you're like, "No, I can't.
No.
Stop asking for that. It's never going to be done."
It's a combination of no, or like I could theoretically do it. I will do it one time, and you're not gonna buy it because it's gonna be so expensive. Like I'm working on a commission right now where I don't do anything related to the Boy Wizard anymore because obvious reasons, and I can't. It makes me mad.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, unless it's a commissioned request. At that point, I'll consider it, but even then, I do it very trepidatiously. But the one I'm working on, every single die in the set is different. So there's like 4 liquid cores, and the ones that I'm down to now, I had to like hand paint a tiny little golden snitch, or like the D6 is covered in its Marauders mapped themes. So there's tiny itty bitty feet print that I put all over a blank, and it took literally an hour to decorate one die in this set. And I showed it on TikTok and she was like, "Oh my god, are you gonna add this to the shop?" No. No. Absolutely. It was amazing. I will never make it again.
Yeah.
You couldn't. No.
Like for me, like my consistent revenue doesn't come from like the fancy pieces. It comes from like the stuff that I designed specifically that I can make quick, fast, and in a hurry. That I can do by the bushel.
Yeah.
And it's not time intensive to just do one. And then just like when I've got the time in my schedule, if somebody wants like the super fancy thing, like I can work that in there. But like telling people like, this isn't going to be $10.
Yeah.
I need you to know that up front. Like,
I need you to know that up front.
Like this is going to be $175.
When you get those email requests in, and the person's like, "I would like this hyper specific thing," and I'm like, we can do that. I'm letting you know now. This is where that price point is, and I'm gonna need half of that up front. And like having that like come to Jesus moment with a person where they're like, "But what do you mean it's yes?" Because fun facts, this is how it happens. And if I'm using those molds to make your one hyper specific thing, I can't use them to make the other stuff that I have to make. Like, I love making my weird quirky stuff. I do not make the most of my sales on like the teeth or the dicks or any of that other stuff. As much fun as those are, those are not the breadwinners. It's the liquid cores or the fun sparkly, like those are the heavy hitters, and I can crank those out a little faster than I can something as hyper specific as like 3D printed, hand painted TARDISes. Like, I do those so I can make the fun things, but I don't get to make the fun things all the time. And when I make the fun things, they're more expensive, and you have to know that going into it.
And then you always get the like, "Well, my cousin Jeremy does that." I'm like, "Cool.
Oh my god.
We'll have Jeremy do it then."
Or I'm gonna take a picture of this and be like, "I can totally make this at home." That is the rudest fucking shit you can do. like it's. I don't give a shit if you take pictures of my stuff when you're at my table. Be polite enough to ask first. Like, every time you go to conventions, at least now, people are really good about like posting lots of signs that say like, "Cosplay is not consent," or like, "Ask before you take pictures." But that goes completely out the window when it comes to artist alley or handcrafted artisans. And a tiny part of me wants to like and I've put up signs before, but then people think I'm being rude and it makes me mad. And I'm just like no, I'll let you take pictures. Let me know you're doing it first. Like, have that level of consideration of just like, this is my art, and yes, it's functional art, and it's not the same as a print you're gonna hang on your wall. And I say this as a person who owns many prints. I forget some of them all the time because I'm surrounded by prints, and I'm like, "Oh wait, I forgot I bought that piece. That's great." I like making functional art. Like it's similar to like your beer mugs and stuff. Like, I love those because it's art that I'm gonna look at every fucking day. Like, I'll look at my handcrafted dice every time I play D&D. Or there was a guy in someone's comment thread who was like, "I could make all of that for $50 at Michael's," and I was like, "Okay, well, $50 not going to cover the cost of your pressure pot, but like, if you could make dice for $50 that look like what she just made, I will give you $50 for those." I'll do it.
Like, and it's that stuff of like, and like, you know, being an artist, you get like, you got to worry, like, you want to put your stuff out there,
Yeah.
but it's like then you have to worry about, you know, people
Mhm.
just running wild with your designs.
My my dad regularly has to remind me that to be an artist is effectively to try and be a duck. And I didn't get it at first. And he was like, you have to like accept that people are gonna say some shitty things about you, and you have to just let it roll. You have to let it roll, and it's very hard. And you have to understand that those people don't know you. They think they know you. It's part of that whole parasocial situation,
Mm-hmm.
but they do not know you as a person, and you have to not focus on it. And like as a person who is creative, and I'm sure you struggle with it too regularly, it's a thing that like it's very hard to do. I think people forget sometimes that being an artist, especially if you're doing this as your job, it's not just I make the art anymore. It's I make the art, but I also have to make the content that promotes the art, and I also have to sell the art, and I also have to do all the business stuff like filing for paperwork and remitting my sales taxes. And there's so many things in a spiraled out circle pattern from just I make the art.
Mm-hmm.
And like if you start to focus on, well, that person said my art looks ugly, it can distract from all of those other things that you have to do. And it's so fucking hard.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know, things that like, because like you, for me as a maker, like I have, like I fly in specific patterns with what I do and how I operate, and like if somebody throws a rock in that,
Mhm.
like it's just like I can't get anything else done. I'm stuck there.
We've thrown a wrench in the system, and the system is now going to malfunction until I figure out how to get the wrench out.
Yeah, and
And
it,
sometimes that wrench could be 3 days of doing nothing because the wrench is now in my brain, and
mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna have to deal with the mental health breakdown you just gave me because you decided to tell me that I will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that because it's just like you try, like you, and when especially like when you try new things, you
Yes.
branch out a little bit,
Uh-huh.
and people just kind of like, you know, shit on you or tell you to stay in your own lane, go back to, you know, etching glass, quit playing, and you're not good at this. I'm like, could you shut up and let me express some joy for a hot second,
Oh yeah.
please? Thank you.
I feel that firsthand because like I resisted doing. I've been asked for ages to do D10s
Mm-hmm.
because people are like, oh, I play VTM or I play whatever system uses D10s, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna do it because like uh no one's gonna pay attention to it, whatever, because people only know me for this one thing. And like I got really excited about some dice that I had made, and I posted them, and it got no traction whatsoever. And someone was just like, oh well, it's really pretty, but like can you show us the baby dice? Or oh hey, did you show this to your dad? I was like, can we just focus on like these objectively very pretty things that I no, we're not gonna, okay, cool, great, understand, message read loud and clear.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
like
then it's like it shuts you down.
we were talking before we started streaming, like you post something that you put a week's worth of work into and you're very proud of, and you just like, you like, serotonin please, you know, and nothing, silence, crickets, and then you
Uh-huh.
just like, you shit post about Mystique from the X-Men, and it's just fucking all of the rage across the internet. You're like,
Like I made the content. Can I have the views now, please?
yeah.
Insert content, give me views, please. Or like the thing that drives me the most insane, at least with YouTube, which I'm still new at, and I've neglected because life has made things complicated for me recently. Um, is that like it's very hard to like, at least with YouTube there's an algorithm that makes sense. To a degree we know how it works. With TikTok, aside from the fact that every 3 seconds they change it,
Mm-hmm.
um it mathematically does not make sense. Like theoretically, like when I go to YouTube, if case in point, I follow like Philip DeFranco on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
If he posts a video, I am told he's posted a video and it shows up on my feed.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like let's say people follow you, I post a video. Theoretically, if you follow me, you've decided you want to see what I do. So like why does it not, even if it's like 10 videos down of them swiping, why does it not land there? No, you decided we're going to like do this. I don't, it makes no sense to me. Like, this person is chosen, I like this person's content, show me this person's content. Why do I have to go to a whole separate tab to see the people that I like? It doesn't
Yep.
make it make sense.
The algorithm that's like, oh, you like so and so? Cool. We show you these 9 other people who aren't them, but are slightly sort of kind of like them. But we're not going to show you this one. And it's that more than 3 clicks rule of the internet. Like, if you have to do more than 3 things to get to the content, you're already over it. You're done.
Exactly.
You know, so TikTok making it so you have to go to like very specific places to do the thing.
I'm gonna update it so that to clear all your notifications, I've got to click in 7 different windows. And I'm just like, it's fine. We're just gonna leave the notifications there because I don't have the energy to go to 7 different places. And by the time you're done checking them, another one has pinged, and I'm like, we give up for the day.
Mm-hmm.
We give up. It's just gonna be red, and I'm gonna ignore it.
Mm-hmm. And you know, and it seems, I swear to God, like a lot of these algorithms are trauma based.
Oh my God.
Because it's like, if you have a bad day, your fucking tweet or TikTok or YouTube video will blow up.
Yeah.
I'm having a bad day. But like, when you have good days and you want to share some joy,
oh my God,
nothing. Crickets.
Yeah.
So it's every day you get notifications reminding you of the bad day for like 6 months.
The number of times I've posted just like an angry rant-filled video, or just someone like me just exploding because I've finally had enough. Aside from the fact that I've had to re-film audio for those videos like 17 times, because I also have to add in the fact that like there was one the other day, someone had said something to, I forget who the dice maker was. I think it was like Dreamy Dice, and I saw it and it made me so mad. So I was like, I'm gonna say something, and I had to re-record the audio 3 times because my friend who was in the room while I was recording it, she was like, this is gonna sound bad. You need to record that again and sound less like an angry black woman, because that is how the internet will see you right now. And I was like, oh, hadn't even considered that on top of the pile of things I gotta think about. So like, re-recorded it, posted it, the video took off and got like, I think like 10,000 views or something, which is great. But like, I'll get notifications for it, and then I'm just like, oh, cool, great. I gotta go back to that headspace and respond to those comments. Yep. I was just trying to get it out of my system.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's just like that constant reminder of trauma content. And like, and it starts to feel like, as a maker, that like sometimes it's like, is this the only time I get support? Is when like my life burns down? Like
my world has to be on fire, and then I am allowed to have the serotonin.
Yeah, and it's just like, I would like to just like make things and sell things and not be in a constant state of panic. Like, I don't want panic to be part of my sales pitch.
Or the other thing I try to do is, like, I've started to be more proactive about posting stuff that isn't the things that I make, because I want people to realize that I am a human outside of the thing that I make.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, that is most of what I do, and I spend a lot of time doing it, but like, I also person. There's a person behind that screen, there's a person behind that set of dice, and like, I think so often, and I'm guilty of it too, we forget that the people behind the shit that we watch are people.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, especially if you run into them in the wild and they're like, they people freak. I was like, no, it's fine. I am a human. You can come and say hi. You can come and have a chat, but like, I'm not just a computer screen or a magical like crafty thing.
Mm-hmm.
I love the term maker because it's so all-encompassing, but I'm also more than just that, if that makes sense.
You know, trying to explain to people, you're not a vending machine.
Yes.
You know, like, I'm a human being.
Yeah,
you know,
I think we forget that.
You know, and there's going to be days when you're doing events and you're out in the wild and you're like, I don't want to internet today.
And
I don't want to deal with like bleed over from the internet to real life today. And you got to navigate that, like, how do I tell people to fuck off without telling them to fuck off? And just like kind of be nice about it, but like also, please give me some space. Please give me some space.
It's weird to have to ask for space to exist in your own life, which at a certain point with a certain following you kind of have to do, and then you almost end up feeling guilty for doing. Like when my friend passed away in January, which I still am dealing with on a regular basis. because it's like the thing that I regularly tell people is like, how do you function when like the person you would talk to isn't there anymore? I felt guilty for asking TikTok to forgive me for needing time away. Like, I felt guilty for asking for space to grieve. That's what the content grind has done to me. And it took me until fairly recently to realize, oh, that's probably not healthy. But like, it's also expected in a weird, like if I had just vanished and had not given a reason for why I had vanished, people would have been mad at me for disappearing and not telling them why. Like, people feel owed to an explanation because they've given you a follow, for lack of a better word. It's like, I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's where the word vomit is.
Yeah, no, I completely get that, because it's just like, and that's the problem with being like makers in the online space and stuff like that, is like, you know, you hear the discourse constantly of like, as a content creator, you don't have to be on all of the time. You kind of do.
Yeah.
Like, that's a very privileged thing to say, is you don't have to be on all the time. Well, like, I don't have a 2.5 million followers, so I kind of do have to like remain somewhat in the zeitgeist as much as possible. Like, hi, I still exist.
Yeah, it's like, I don't have 2.5 million followers. I don't have a content manager. I don't have... It's... If you see a thing that is posted with my username, chances are either me, or in some rare exceptions, like my editor when he's also not doing his job, like that he has professionally, chances are it's me. 9 times out of 10, I had to make that post. So like, it's not as simple as just... the thing doesn't exist without me. I had this argument with someone around the time that like my grandfather had passed away. But I've been through a lot in the last like 8 months. My grandfather had passed away, and I was like, oh, I can't take time off because I have a show that's scheduled, and like, as much as I want to go to the funeral, all of that money's already been paid. And I am Smoking Glue Gun, so like, I can't just send someone to the show to vend the show. The show still needs to happen. And they're like, oh, but like, you work for yourself, so you can just take the time off. I was like, yeah, I can. But that means I'm paying the consequences for that afterwards. There is not a backup plan. There is not an assistant. Hello, it's me.
Yeah, you don't get PTO.
I just get TO.
Yeah. You know, and you know, and it's that thing of just like always having to be on, and you always have to be pushing, innovating, moving forward, and aware. And it's one of those things too, like when you're a lot in the online space, and the people who think they're being helpful, they're like, your content would be so much better if you also did this. I'm like, cool, are you gonna fund that? I'm looking at the breakdown. That's at least $1,000 to start doing.
Legit.
Like, stop suggesting shit that we can't afford to do, because one, now it's in our head.
Because once the idea is planted,
like, we're makers. This is how we work.
Regularly has to get it back out. Like, no.
Yeah, like, if you put the idea in our head, it's there now. Thanks a lot for that.
Do you ever struggle with, at least for me, I'm bad about balance. So like, because you exist in an online space, I often find I almost have to schedule breaks for myself, because otherwise I'm not gonna stop. Like, unless I tell myself, okay, cool. And even if it's only like an hour, like I'm like the other day, I could feel that I was getting drained. I was like, we're gonna finish this task, and then I'm gonna let myself play like The Sims 4 for 2 hours, just to like let my brain. But I have to actively schedule it for myself, because if I don't, I'm not gonna hold myself accountable.
Very much.
People make it sound so simple, like, oh, just don't do the thing, and I'm like, it's not that simple.
Yeah, well, it's just like, a lot of people don't understand that, like, being a creative person, like, it's internal. It's on all the time. So there is no just disconnecting from it. You don't just like, okay, I'm going to take my creative brain out.
Yeah.
And set it to the side and just not deal with that constant chatter of like, you should do this. What about that? Ooh, you forgot to do this one thing. You know, and like watch some TV for 10 minutes.
Do you have the bedside table notebook that I think most of my artist friends have? the bedside because I it's either a bedside table notebook or it's a notes app on your phone. See, it's because it's got mine lives. I have a tiny notebook that lives right next to my bedside table because the number of times I have been in bed and like an idea has popped in my head and I know I will forget it before when I wake up, but like the glasses are already off and I've already decided to like try and shut down for the day, but like I've got to get the brain worm is there and the brain worm needs to be written down. And every artist friend I know has either the infamously long like text doc in their phone or they have a bedside table notebook. It's one or the other.
I have this office notebook, I have a bedside notebook, I have a living room notebook, I have a shipping station notebook. Like I used to work for the newspaper, and I got introduced to the reporters' notepads, the extra long. Oh my god, these are the best thing ever.
Half the reason I've made friends with a lot of the stationery artists on TikTok is because I'm constantly writing shit down. So like at any given time I have this one which is from Bumble and Birch. And then I've got like one that's got an arson chicken off to the side. There's some acorn and crow ones stashed over there. Like they're everywhere for different reasons. There's a purse notebook because I gotta have you gotta have the purse one in case an idea pops while I'm like out at the store picking up nonsense. I had to go to the trash dump today. So much TMI. Had to go to the trash dump because I cleaned my workspace and I was like, oh, well, I can't take over my parents' trash can. So we're going to go to the dump and we'll dump it all off. And on the way back, I stopped and got ice cream. While I was waiting for ice cream, I had like 3 different dice ideas and I was like, thank you, purse notebook. Thank you, purse notebook. Write that down in the purse notebook.
But I've also got like the 10,000 pictures on my phone that I'm struggling to figure out why I took a picture of this, because it had some weird curve that I liked that I wanted to try and recreate in like a filigree style, and I'm trying I'm just looking at this picture going, what part of this picture was the focus?
So many zoomed in pictures of things, and I'm assuming it's because I liked the color of said thing and I wanted to remember that color for later, which saying that out loud sounds like a crazy person. But I think it's just art brain.
No, like I've legitimately taken pictures of things just because like I liked the arc of the line like on the back of this guy's trailer. And I'm like, why did they take a picture of this person's trailer? I don't remember. And so I just have like literally thousands of photos that I'm just like, oh. It seemed important at the time.
Hey, but at least you're taking pictures of the back of the trailer and like saving it for like a note for yourself. You're not like taking the picture of someone's social tag on the back of their car and then DMing it to them on Instagram and writing random messages over it saying stuff like, I know where you are. Not that that's totally ever happened before.
Wow.
Parasocial's fun.
Yeah. I had a small bout with some stalking and gaslighting a few years back that was very not fun. So yeah, the parasocial aspect of like being a maker online is terrifying.
It's the double concept of being a maker online, so you have to promote. So like, yes, on the back of my work car, not my personal, I do have my handles because it's the work car. Usually I'm driving it to shows or like to dump things. But the problem that I regularly have is like, okay, cool. Let's say you pull up my handles. All of my social stuff, it may be the cartoon version of the avatar, but it's very clearly femme presenting. So like you pull it up, it's a person of color, it is a female person of color. I'm gonna send this person at what point in this thread did you decide that was a good decision? Or when I posted about it, someone was like, oh well, like you asked effectively for it by putting that on the back of your car. And I was like, you are using a really bad argument here, and I hope you understand why it's bad. Because like again, I travel alone so much, so for someone to send me messages like that, it's absolutely terrifying. Like I will spend more to stay at hotels where you have to go through a physical lobby to get to elevators to go up to the rooms, even though staying at like the Red Roof Pluses would be much cheaper and save me money. Because like even though it's security theater, I feel like people are less likely to do bad things if they've got to like go through a lobby first.
Yeah, if they have to run a gauntlet of like actual human beings that might say,
Yeah.
"Why are you here?"
Legitimately.
Mhm.
But it's like those are all things that I have to actively think about, that I think, and I've had this conversation with some of my male maker friends who also do shows, and they're like, that is not a thing I would have considered. I was like, yeah, I'm a girl who
Yes.
travels alone and goes to different states by themselves. Like, I have the advantage of being a bigger girl who to a degree from a distance looks a little more intimidating, but like I have like tiny itty bitty waifu like vendor friends, and I'm like, why you need a human with you, please.
Mhm.
Like, you should not do this alone. But like it's I, just because you follow me doesn't mean we're friends.
Yep.
Like, it shouldn't have to be said, but I feel like it still does.
Mhm. People getting real friendly in the DMs.
Mhm.
I routinely have to monitor my communications, and then just like you get to that point where you're just like, you want to just like be human and human with people,
Yeah.
but you have to run everything you say through about 27 filters
Mhm.
of like, is this too much? Is this giving some type of false impression that we're some type of way?
Yeah.
Like, you've got to filter everything you say,
Mhm.
and it sucks because you feel like you can't just like talk to people.
Yeah. There's a group of people. I have several small circles of people who I'm just like, I know that I can effectively be unfiltered Whitney with,
Mm-hmm.
but outside of that, I'm very careful, and it takes a while for me to reach a point where I'm willing to open up and like be completely unfiltered with,
Mm-hmm.
because it's especially with the way internet is, screenshots are a thing that can just be taken and you don't know, and like sometimes context is completely edited out, and then you look like an S and you can lose everything that you have or have built because someone took you completely out of context because someone else took, and like it's so fucking stressful.
Mm-hmm.
It's I had this I I've been single since 2020, and I fully intend on staying that way, not necessarily because I don't want to date, because it dawned on me now that like that is also another thing that has to be run through the filters, and like that's I didn't realize there's a list of things you don't realize you signed up for
Mm-hmm.
when you post the one video that goes viral. Like, you don't realize that you also signed up for X, Y, Z, Q, B, T, and S.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just
Yep.
yeah.
And like the amount of entitlement that people have, they're just like, I pushed the button, I own you. You
Yeah.
make content for me now. And it's just like, are you serious?
I've
Like,
had one or two people who have, and granted, it's very few, but I've had one or two people who've bought like dice for me and then have said things effectively where they were like that was very much implied, like things were owed because they gave me money for a thing I made. And I was like, no, you paid for a product, you have your product, the transaction is completed.
mm-hmm.
That's where it ends.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get like, no thank you.
Yeah, the people that have bought a few things from you, so they infer some type of like, oh, you're my personal maker because I bought 3 things from you, and
No.
they jump into your messages and they're like, I need a thing by Tuesday.
It's like, no.
And it's like, I can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? I've bought 4 things from you. It's like, that isn't how this works at all.
It comes back to the people forget you're a person thing again.
Mm-hmm.
We found a circle. It's a fucked up circle, but it's a circle.
Okay, it is 8 o'clock. We can do a little 10-minute break, do a stretch, grab some
Woo.
do a bio, grab something to hydrate with, and then we will be right back, friends.
Yay!
Let me find that BRB button. We'll be right back. And we're back. We were talking about secret dice council things.
Oh yes. Do not share the secrets of the council. Secrets of the council are only known to a select few. Oh, my. On the subject of what we were actually just talking about, my favorite regulatory maker injury that I get, I play with wax seals quite regularly. And the number of times I've just burned myself on hot wax is just, like, I've just accepted at this point, if I'm doing the wax project, I'm gonna give myself burns. It's just happening.
I got a heat gun for playing with vinyl. And I have to make a conscious effort of like, barrel is hot, barrel is hot, barrel is hot, barrel is hot. Do not touch barrel.
It's my heat gun again lives just out of frame. When I do my potions, which that's a whole separate conversation that I wanted to talk to you about at some point. I do these little like potions with dice inside them. You can shake them up and flip them, and the dice floats, and it's whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when they come in, I don't know why we've all decided let's just put stickers on things that we know people are going to crap. Why have we just decided that's how? Just tie a tag around it. No, it's fine. But like the easiest way to get the sticker off is to hit it with a heat gun, and like let the adhesive warm up and then peel it off. But again, I'm pointing a heat gun at glass. And my brain, the number of times it's been like, oh, glass is hot, glass is hot, glass is hot, glass hot. Don't touch glass, but you need to touch glass to peel off. Well,
yeah.
Why have we decided that's how we're doing this? Why?
Stickers are the bane of my existence, because like I use a lot of recycled glass, like wine bottles or just little dropper bottles that I find, and everything has got some, like, the stickers have just gotten hellishly awful to remove. Like there is no chemical that will get that residue off. And oh god, you sit there with a heat gun, and you hit it with Goo Gone, and then you're sitting there with a razor blade for an hour just scraping boogers off the glass.
It's the worst. It's the worst. I don't know. Like there's little things, and especially when you're starting out, there are so many things that like I bought the more expensive one-off version at, like, as much as I hate them, but they're all I have as an option to me at the place that I live, Hobby Lobby or like Michael's or Joann's. You buy a lot of those things where it like costs more because you can't buy it in bulk. But like when you buy it at the craft store, it's always got a sticker or like some sort of label or tag in a place that's completely inconvenient, which means I now have to like rework this plan of the quick project I decided to work on to spend like an extra hour taking a sticker off of something. But I do think that's the thing. You can't be a maker without maker scars. It's just the nature. It's the nature of the beast.
Before we came back from break, we were just talking about the amount of times we dabbed ourselves, the maker scarification. Like, we all just sit around crafting tables just like, oh, I got this one in 92.
It's like, oh yeah, no, that hole, that partially, that smaller pinky toe, yeah, no, that's an X-Acto to the foot.
Yeah. Like, is that a bullet wound? No, actually, that's what for a small time, I got into making this. We all have our personal, like, Vietnam of crafting. We're like, no. The summer of 97.
There's gotta be some 3D printed person who's made like a tiny little sleeve to slide onto an X-Acto blade. So that way, like, it can't roll off your desk. Like, it rolls, it hits the tab, and it stops. Because if it doesn't, I need someone to do that.
For the longest time, when I was using like the garbage X-Acto knives that are just the straight metal handles, I would use, you know, you could get them for pencils, the pencil holders that are triangles. Yeah. I would use those to keep my X-Actos from rolling.
Oh, that's smart.
But those straight handled X-Acto knives are the worst.
They're the absolute. That being said, there's a level of bouge in getting like your fancy X-Acto set. Like mine is in like a little zippered case, and it has like a bunch of the different blade options. And I've got like the big chunky one, and then like the thin regular one, and then like the one in between. And I was just like, I felt like such a grown-up crafter when I like finally caved. And like, it's not like, in hindsight, it really wasn't that expensive. But like, when you're getting started, all of those like creature comforts, for lack of a better word, feel like such an unattainable thing to justify buying for yourself. You're like, I'm gonna, in the long run, spend more to do this the hard way because I haven't earned the right to have good X-Acto blades yet.
Yeah. And then like the one for me is I always see like the weird ones that you're like, oh, that looks interesting, and like it'll probably be more helpful, and you get it and you're like, this is just the weirdest garbage. Why did I get this? Like, have you seen the fingertip X-Acto knives?
No, why would you do that?
Like, I'm like, I guess like if you want to sit around and like scare children, like they're great. But I'm just looking at this thing, I'm just like, why? You know? What is the purpose for this? It's like going into a craft store when you specialize in a craft and you look at the tools that they make, like at Michael's for that specialized craft, and you're just like, all of these are trash.
Yeah.
For me, it's weeding tools. Weeding tools, store-bought weeding tools are garbage, all of them.
The only one I like, and it's the most expensive weeding tool I've ever purchased. And I hate that it's Cricut branded, but it's the one that has the interchangeable tips. So I can literally like, in one click, I can have the straight edge weeder, I can have the curved, and it lives in my travel work kit because the number of times I've needed to poke something tiny in a weird place. And plus it also has like an emergency, one of the swap out blades is an X-Acto blade. So I can leave my X-Acto knives in like the work shelf at home. And then like I've got a blade in case I need it when I'm out and about. And the number of times someone's been like, do you have like an X-Acto blade or a pair of scissors? And I can just be like, click, click. Yes, I do.
Oh god, that is the best feeling.
Like I just feel like but it was like $20. But like it came with like technically like an X-Acto blade and like 5 different pointy weeder tips. So like in my head I was like, first year crafter Whitney would not have purchased this item. Current crafter Whitney justifies this luxury purchase.
That was me with the vinyl cutter for years when they came out with them. I was like, if I let's talk about that imposter syndrome of like, if I buy the fancy tool that does the fancy things, I'm no longer an artist.
Yes.
You know, that little brain weasel that gets stuck in your head of like, if I don't do everything from scratch with stone tools, I'm not really an artist.
Justifying spending the money to tumble my dice versus like hand polishing every single one of them, and like accepting that like the tumbler does a better job than I do, and that's okay, but I still have to know how to make the tumbler do what it does. Like finding that place has been the better part of like a 4 to 5 month struggle, because like I like originally felt guilty charging the same price for my tumbled dice versus my hand polished ones. And I was like, no, you dumbass. It is all your dice. Just because you bought a tool to save your wrist tendons does not mean you are less of a dice maker.
Yeah, I mean, that's 100% me with the vinyl cutter, because I was just like, if you don't cut every piece of this design artisanally by hand, you are just a manufacturer. You are no longer an artiste. And I'm just like, shut up.
What is your favorite niche tool that you've ever purchased? Because mine's real dumb.
I don't know. I'd have to say, probably just like ungodly fancy sharp scissors instead of just like a pair of scissors.
That's valid. I have 2. Both of them are within arm's reach, and yes, I'm going to grab both of them. One of them, so I do a lot of resin coasters, and to finish them, I bevel the edges. And I used to just do it with an X-Acto blade. I just dip in, pull it with an X-Acto blade, and the number of times I have a scar on my thumb from the number of times I've just ramroded an X-Acto into my thumb, and then someone like I just thank you TikTok. I was scrolling through TikTok, and someone was like, "Yeah, no, if you do this, you should try this tool." And I looked it up, and I was like, are you this was the solution? Is a
Mm.
little beveled rotating
Mm-hmm.
this was this $7 Amazon purchase? Thank you. It's either these or this, which is my favorite pair of scissors I own.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just so nice to be able to do this motion is just easier.
Mm-hmm.
It's little shit like that like first year Whitney was like, never, I'm not gonna buy the $30 pair of scissors. No, buy the $30 pair of scissors.
God, yes. He was
Buy them. Then
looking...
invest in a scissor sharpener because it will save your goddamn world.
Mm-hmm. Was it looking chat real quick? Who was it? I just barely saw it. Somebody talking about the Smeagol goggles. I got Magnum. Yeah, that has to be the. I have gotten more use not crafting out of those goofy magnifying goggles.
I love seeing people wearing them because no matter how you wear them, the people wearing them always look insane.
Yes.
Like I feel like it's one of those things that you cannot wear and look cool.
No. No. Well, it's like, and it's turned into a whole thing here on this channel of like, I have redemptions that I normally have turned on. I have the Smolder redemption, but then there's the Smeagol where I put those on and get real close and creepy with the camera.
That's amazing. I love that so much. Oh, the other fun thing as a crafter is learning how to store things, which I constantly struggle with.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about before we originally started, finding ways to keep your desk tidy. And then finding storage spaces, and the second you have it clean, you're like, oh, but now there's a void, and I need to put a thing in the void.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Like makers cannot abide an empty spot.
No, I gotta put something there.
Yeah, like I
gotta.
And like I ran at like I have desk here. I have this nice U-shaped streaming desk that I've set up like a little crafting niche here for doing crafting streams, and I'm just like, but I have all this other stuff that I need a whole other desk over here for the ancillary crafting.
For that.
Oh God. And I guess that's the good thing about living alone is literally just like you walk through my house and there's crafts in the office, there's crafts in the kitchen, there's shit in the bedroom. I think I got something drying in the bathroom. Like
my mom has just learned to not come in my room because it constantly looks like chaos.
Mm-hmm.
But like to me, chaos, there's an organization that I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And like the worst is like I usually don't do like back-to-back travel shows, so it'll be like a show here and then I'll have a second show, but the second show is like home, so like I'll be able to come home in between or whatnot. So I did a show earlier this year where I was in Charleston and then I had to go to Florida for MegaCon, so I was gone for 2 weeks. So when I came back, inevitably people had just like stashed any Amazon packages or things that had arrived. They just stashed them in my room, but they put them like wherever. So like I had to spend so long putting everything back where it needed to be, and I was like, you've interrupted my chaos storage. Please don't just stick it in the door. Just open door, kick it in, and walk away, and I'm good with that. That's fine. Please don't interrupt my chaos.
That's how it is around here. I mean, it's nice that I have the whole space to kind of spread my chaos. Like I've got piles, but there's at least like 3 or 4 feet between piles.
I'm proud of you.
You know, so it's just like, it's nice. I'm like, oh, where's that? Oh yeah, no, that's in the pile that's by the bathroom. Yeah, I know where that is.
It's always good when other people come into the space and they ask where the thing is and they assume that you will not be able to find the thing. You're like, no, that's too short. Or like, my mom the other day needed AAA batteries. And I was like, cool, here's what you're going to do, because I'm not coming upstairs to get them for you. They're on the left of my desk, next to the 2 Amazon boxes full of paint jars. There's a pack of golden Pokemon sitting on top of 3 AAA batteries. And she was like, excuse me? And I was like, trust the process. Trust the process. And like, she came in, found them, she goes, I should not have been able to find those. I was like, did you follow the directions? She's like, yeah. I was like, then you should have been able to find them quite easily.
Yeah.
left of the desk, Amazon boxes full of paint. To the right of those, box of batteries.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it makes sense, but that's where it is.
Well, it's like whenever anybody comes into your space and they think they're helping, they're like, "Oh,
Oh, by cleaning?
I'll just clean it while they're gone, and they'll be so
No.
appreciative." And you're just
No.
like
I will light you on
rage-inducing.
fire. No. It's like, oh, well, I tidied everything. But you didn't. You
No.
made it so much worse.
Yeah, now I can't find it. Literally anything.
It's like, don't touch this. I understand why you touch this. Don't touch the stuff.
Ugh.
Don't do it. Oh my god. Oh, it's the desk situation at the current is chaos because I'm prepping for a show this weekend, but I'm also taking like my first vacation in I don't know how long, and I'm going to Dragon Con. And I'm very excited, but I'm not vending. So I'm like, while also trying to work on shop things, I'm also doing prop things. So like the desk is also covered in that stuff. So like within 5 feet of me, there's like a chain chomp that looks like a piranha plant. There's a giant 3D printed crystal just sitting here, just hanging out. There's like piles of test coasters that I finished and don't have a home for. There's just two-part glue epoxy sitting on the, could have put it back in the glue drawer. Did not do that. Instead, it's sitting on the desk. And then there's the pile of just mail that I'm just like, if I don't look at it.
Oh god.
Don't look at it.
This place, I don't have a mailbox here. I have like a slot that's attached to my garage, and I just put a garbage can under it.
Oh my god!
Because I don't care. All of the important stuff is all paid online.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, I don't even care. It's just whatever. Like every now and again, I look for like a weird Amazon envelope. Before I dump it, I'm like, is there anything actually? No, there's nothing that says Amazon. Okay, cool. Like I don't care about any of this shit. I'm the worst with mail.
It's bad if mail comes in when I'm not home. Because depending on which child is sent to bring the mail to my room, it could end up being God knows where. Like, because each of them has their own separate. So some of them will just toss it in the door. Some will set it on the desk. Some will set it on the bed. Some will, like, and I never know. So I'm constantly playing, where has this child put my thing? It's like, I love the tiny humans. They're excellent. They're lovely. But like living and working around children is a whole separate ballgame. Like we were talking about post chat, like to a degree, I signed up for the public persona that I have. My dad signed up for it, but there are people in my family who very much haven't. So like learning how to work around that, but also still like have time to like have auntie time and like be involved in their lives and all that. Like balance is hard. Yeah.
I very much like, I have constantly in my head that scene, and it's because I'm a weirdo, that scene from Hot Fuzz, the Simon Pegg film, when Nick Frost yells at him and he's like, "You don't know how to switch off," and runs off into the rain. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Shit. But it me though.
It's the curse of being like, it's the curse of being able to make whatever whenever you want, but you can make whatever whenever you want. So like, or when you work for yourself, like, oh well, if I'm not doing the thing, then like I'm wasting time. I was like, no, you taking several hours this evening to just play Mass Effect for no reason other than the fact that you've really loved that video game, like that's important too. But like, justifying that when you're the one who technically has to like make and pay the bill, like it's so hard. It's so hard. And telling yourself constantly that when you're doing something for pleasure and for fun, or like you're hanging out with friends playing a game online, and your brain's like, you could be streaming this. Shush. Yeah. No, I don't have to make everything content all of the time. But you could be... The number of times I scroll and I see videos where they're like, the best advice I can give you as a small business owner is to film everything. And I'm like, that is the worst advice you could give any small business owner. I understand the want to do so, but like I actively strive to not do that unless I'm filming something very specific, like I'm filming a whole thing for YouTube and then I'll film every part of the process, or I've decided to make a vlog that week. I intentionally don't film every part of the process. Because I think it gives me more variation in the content that I make, but also it's something I've noticed specifically with dice makers is I feel like a lot of us have fallen into this like shoot the pour, shoot the reveal, here's the glamour shot of it being finished, and it's like the same 3 videos over and over and over and over again ad nauseum. And after a certain point they all just kind of look the same to me. So like I follow so many dice makers and there's a lot of them, except for the ones that I'm reasonably good friends with, where like I could not tell you whose was whose because it's all the same formula that we've sort of gotten into. And I like the ones where they break out. Like there was people who were doing like macro shots and I was like, that's new and different, please do more of that, that's awesome. You don't have to film everything, I just want to see the shiny Mathrug.
And it's I've tried not to fall into the must turn everything into content, because like you're creative and you're bored and you're like, I'll do a thing, you know, and there is usefulness in failing out loud.
Yes.
So like it is good as a maker to film yourself going, oh, I fucked that up. But it's just like allowing yourself that free time and that space to just like create without somebody looking over your shoulder. Because that feeling of like while you're making a thing, you can't really like enjoy the experience because you're constantly like, I'm being monitored. Don't fuck this up. I'm being monitored.
Also, like, I pour and mix differently when I'm filming versus when I'm just working. Like, there's a difference between how it's like we were talking about earlier with performativeness to a degree. Like when you are filming something, there's a different way that I task differently. Like when I'm doing soap, I task differently when I'm filming it versus when I'm just like earlier today, I made soap live. I soaped slightly differently than I would if I wasn't on camera. Because like I'm not gonna say that there's some things that I don't do when no one is watching, but like we all have those things that you're like I'm not wearing the goggles today. I'll be fine. I have my glasses on. I'll be fine. I'm not going to put the goggles on top of the glasses. It'll be fine. One time will not kill me. But when you're doing it, especially when you're working with stuff that like with the resin, anytime I'm filming it, I make a point of actively showing all of my safety materials. Because the number of times I've seen a video where like I actively watch someone playing with resin and they're not wearing gloves for some reason, or like they're not wearing a respirator and I can hear their voice without it sounding like they're Darth Vader. Like I'm like, honey, sweet pea,
yeah,
darling child.
No, there's you know, all of the makers I run around with, there's an active conversation and an active campaign of like PPE is sexy.
Yeah,
wear it.
Wear it.
Like,
you know what's really sexy? Wearing a respirator.
And it's because it's like I tell people like I am adamant about wearing my respirator when I sandblast, because the lady that apprenticed me in glass etching, she never wore a respirator, and she suffered like the ultimate consequences later in life because of it. And like silicosis is not a thing that I want. So like I'm just gonna put I don't care that it puts a weird crinkle in my beard.
Yeah.
I'll comb that out later.
It's fine. You know what's really great? Not actively sending shrapnel into your mouth. Like I the number of times I've seen people like sanding EVA foam, and like I'm not saying you need a full-fledged respirator to sand foam, but like we just went through a pandemic. I know you've got a face mask in your goddamn house. It's there. Throw something on to keep inhaling foam not fun. Don't do it. Like, as someone who's actively trying to move the toxic chemical thing I do out of my bedroom, Like, I'm aware that it is not the safest way that I can be doing this right now, and I take as many steps as I can to, like, mitigate it where I can with what I have at my disposal. But at the same time, I'm just like, why are you touching the toxic? Or when I read the bottle and it's like, it's non-toxic. But I was like, you just need to read 3 more sentences where it says it's not toxic in its inert state. How do you think it gets hard? This isn't happy fun times where like the resin gets hard because it got excited. No,
right?
The resin is having a exothermic reaction.
You just whisper at it. It
like,
just
resin,
solidifies.
Resin, it's time for you to solidify. God, it would be so much easier if I could just tell my resin it's time to get hard. That'd be great.
Right?
There's a clippable meme.
Yeah. Yeah, but the resin hits 40. It's it takes a little bit more time.
It takes a little more time. It's a little harder, or it's a little less hard.
But we still appreciate it. It tries.
It's still doing its best. You got to put it in a bath first, get it all warmed up.
We were talking about earlier, just like it popped into my head, just that being a crafter and being crafty all the time, and just like the amount of comments you see from people that are like, people that don't understand what it is to live with craft brain.
Yeah.
And they're just like, I wish I was crafty like you. And it's like, you don't. You really don't. Like, enjoy your time with family and like vacations and like stuff like that.
I have actively made a point to, as inconvenient as it can be sometimes, I have to go downstairs and eat dinner. Like, I have to go downstairs, and even if it's only just me spending an hour downstairs with my family every day, I have to go downstairs and eat. I cannot eat dinner in my room.
Nope.
Unless it's like the only time I make an exception is like on D&D night, because I don't get to play as often as I'd like. But the rest of the time, I have to go downstairs and sit down on the couch with mom and dad and the kids and just eat fucking dinner and pretend for 3 seconds like I'm not a chaos gremlin human who spends all their time in their bedroom. Like, I have to go actively make a point to do it. And it's when I tell that to people, are like, it's not that hard to go and like eat dinner. I was like, you don't understand. Yes, it is.
Those times when you're just like, okay, I'm gonna actively not be in my shop space. You don't really have anything to do, not in the shop space. You're just like, I need to human and be out of here. And then 20 minutes later, you find yourself back in your shop space, and you're like, how the fuck did I get back in here? You just wander back in because your brain's like, go to your space.
You need to go to your hole.
Yeah.
Go to your hole where you do things and live in your hole place.
Yeah, and you're just like, no, I was trying to get out of here. It's like some never-ending like maze of like, wait, no, how did I end up in this loop again? Why am I in here? I'm trying to not be in here.
The thing I do, because I am incredibly lucky in the fact that I have 2 separate vehicles for my crafting. I have my personal car, which I rapidly outgrew, which is why we got the second car. And it happened at a time where my parents needed to get a different vehicle to tow their camper with, and I was gonna go full butch lesbian and be like, I'm gonna get myself a truck and like I'm gonna get an F-150 and I'll do my shows in my F-150. And then my dad was like, or I can just not give you back that money that I owe you and you can take the Lincoln Navigator instead. And I was like, that makes way more sense because I know that car works. So like, I actively will make a point, if I'm getting really in my own head, of like taking the fun car, as I call it, because it's a 2005 Ford Mustang, and I love her and it's painted purple, and it's a convertible, and like I will actively make a point to just go for a drive. I will not have a destination in mind. I will just, especially like where I live in South Carolina, I'm not super far. I can't call them mountains because I've been to Knoxville now and I know what mountains look like, but we've got like real big hills. So I'll just go for like a drive and I'll just physically detach myself from the space, because if I don't, the number of times in like one of my group chats of dice makers where I've been like, I need to take a break, but I can't take a break, so I'm sanding dice instead. Like, it's a lot easier to say no to craft brain if I physically can't craft. I have to put the roadblock in.
I mean, like, very specifically, I have a motorcycle. Because it's like, I can't take crafts with me. I can't go buy crafts while I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, all I can take is what's in my pockets, and that's it. And so I'm just gonna get on the bike and point it in a direction, and like I
go for a bit.
Yeah, I like, because though I can't do any of this stuff, and I can't. Well, I'm gonna pick up some of this. Well, I can't. Because like I have like the giant cargo van that like has like it's an old DirecTV installation van that I bought. So it's just like 2 seats and space.
Oh, it's like even this conversation, there is part of my brain that is actively yelling at me to be like, why are you doing this? There are dice that could be sanded. There are dice that could be cleaned. There's you could go and do this, or I'm having to actively, with part of my brain, be like, no, no. Sit and just shoot the shit for a bit. It's fine. We'll be fine.
That's like every Tuesday night I do best friend date night with my friend Sam, and we do a watch party online, and it's like I remove all of my projects. Just I have to get them out of the room, or I'll sit here and just like zone out and start touching things and building things and doing this, and like I have to remove it all. But then still, you're just there going, I should go get that thing and play with it while I'm just sitting here, not doing anything with my hands.
It's part of why I'm really hoping that I can get like my little external studio thing set up, because like I will physically have to go to the dice shop. And even though it's like me going downstairs, walking out my front door and going to the side of the garage where we're going to build the shed, it's still like a physical barrier between workspace and live space. And having that separation of church and state, I think will be very good for me. Because like right now it's very easy to be like, okay, cool, roll out of bed, get back to work.
Well, that and I have a lot of crafts everywhere, but like having my definitive shop space in my garage, there's a thing that it does for your work process in your brain when you cross that threshold of like, I am in workspace here. This is workspace, and I can focus on work things, as opposed to having it everywhere where it's just like chaos, and you're just like, I'll do this for 5 minutes, I'll do that for 5 minutes, and then I'll clean the dishes, and then I'll kick some laundry around.
Why you gotta call me out right here?
Being able to
feel
just
so personally attacked.
Walk outside and be like, I'm at work right now.
Yeah.
Just like ritual of it.
I even toyed with the idea of, even though it'd be completely inconvenient and so expensive, of like renting a studio space. I was like, then I physically have to drive to my studio. And I was like, yes, but you're gonna hate that within 3 seconds of doing it. Like, part of the reason you do this is so that you can, to a degree, work from home. So like, let's find ways of doing that in the space that I have available to me right now. Like it helped. I used to have my bedroom set up in a much worse way, where like my desk was like next to my bed, and the way it's laid out now, I basically like used my weird closet and like my wall of storage to build like effectively a wall. So there's a little bit of separation. There's like bedroom side, shop side, but like I need to move it to another goddamn zip code somehow, and that zip code is outside to the goddamn garage if I can.
And it's just it does so much for you mentally.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like it's interesting that, because like for the longest time, like I had like a job somewhere else, and you can like that disconnect on the drive home. Like, I am no longer at work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now it's just like literally just walking through my garage door, but like I make a point to go, I am at work, like to the point where like I almost put in a punch card just to have like a ritual.
I kind of want that for you now.
Like I've been toying about like legitimately putting in a punch card.
Think of the amusing content of that, though.
It's just walking.
Like, I know we had that whole rant about like everything doesn't need to be content, but that in itself would make for funny videos. It was like you just roll about like time to go to work, and then just film you walking across to the shop and then punching it.
Yeah, just getting up off the couch, walking through a door, and punching a clock. I'm still in a bathrobe. I would hate, okay. But like, can you imagine as a crafter who just like in and out of what you do, what that punch card would look like? It would be an interesting experience to see like the punch card at the end of the day, the amount of times you're like, well, I'm done working for now because I got to do a laundry thing, ka-clack. I'm done with the laundry thing, back into work, ka-clack. Like you need like a 9-foot punch card.
That bears the question of, do I punch in and out every time I pause to go do an ancillary task? Or is it like, I know that like I'm gonna do ancillary tasks while I'm also at the overall process of being at work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do I have to, if I'm only just switching the clothes from the washer to the dryer, do I have to punch out to put the clothes in the dryer and then punch back in after I've done it? Or can I just be like, okay, I'm gonna take a 10-minute smoke break, and that 10-minute smoke break is me switching laundry?
Yeah. But I think it would also, I don't know, for people that have a hard time like stopping to do lunch, like it might be a good thing just to like, as part of like, again, the ritual of like, I'm gonna literally punch out for lunch and just a little bit of accountability.
I've watched my mom sort of struggle with that because she shifted because of COVID and the way that her job works. She does a lot of account inventory management. She catches when people steal things because of numbers.
Mm-hmm.
It's all very mathematical and I do not understand it. But when she was working downstairs out of her bedroom, she was sort of struggling with the ritual of it. So we ended up moving the guest room, like destructuring it and turning that into her office space. And she like, because the office is upstairs, even though it's inconvenient and like she has fibromyalgia and getting up the stairs is kind of a pain in the ass, having the ritual of physically having to go downstairs to get her lunch every day, like A, makes her eat, but B, forces her to take, even if it's only like 40 minutes, to like go downstairs, get her lunch, get it together, do the thing. Maybe she'll start a load of dishes in the dishwasher while she's down there. Like having that physical barrier, I think has helped a lot with her focus. And I watch it, I'm like, yeah, I want that.
Well, it's like, you don't realize how fast you burn out when it's just like from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, you're in this same contained area, just like personal working and professional working all just chaotically mixed together. And it
totally.
Like the toll that it takes on you when you realize like they even left the house in 3 days. Like I don't know
what is
like I don't know what
people look like again.
Yeah, like I've forgotten what the sun feels like, Gandalf. Like for the love of God.
I think that's the other reason why I like doing craft shows, is it sort of to a degree it forces me to have deadlines. I have to have time where like I know this is where I'm gonna stop, because I have to do that. It's the other reason I had the other reason I like it is I have really shitty vision. This is gonna make sense, I swear. So like my glasses are atrociously bad. I hate driving at night if I can avoid it. So a lot of times loadout after a show will happen anywhere, and it takes me, because I have lots of intricate little bullshit, it can take me sometimes an hour and a half to pack everything back down and get loaded out of the convention hall, at which point it's usually starting to get dark. So I intentionally will stay at the hotel if I'm at an out of town place. I will intentionally stay at the hotel that extra night, even though it costs me more money, because it forces me to have like, I don't have to drive at nighttime, which I don't like, but it also forces me to have a break. It's like a thing I'm now like, it's part of my ritual, like we were talking about, where like I can do a post-show mental breakdown. While I'm back at the hotel, if I need to order supplies, I don't have to like be thinking about that the whole drive home. I can like order those things and sit back, relax, watch a show. I have the dumb thing where like if I have a really good show, I'm allowed to take myself out to Olive Garden, and I will go to Olive Garden by myself, and I will get pasta and gnocchi soup, and then I will bring a chocolate lasagna back to the hotel room. It's like a thing that I'm allowed to do if the show goes well. And it sounds so dumb when you say it out loud or tell other people it, but it's like no, like having that ritual is super fucking helpful sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's good to have like a mental like, oh hey, we're gonna pause now.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. You're gonna be fine.
Well, that's like a lot of crafting as a profession. Like you know, you have your systems, your rituals, your I do this time, this time, this way, this that way, and like having forcing yourself to work in those self-care rituals along with the production rituals is really hard but very necessary.
Oh yeah. My dice maker friends regularly like to yell at me because uh the volume at which I work is for lack of a better word fucking bananas. Like I paused and thought about it the other day because I have a table currently in the no space on the bedroom side because I was like, I'm gonna ink dice and I know it's gonna take hours, so I'm gonna make a point to sit on my bed and ink my dice because then I can watch like Miss Marvel, which I've been putting off watching for ages. And I know I have to get this task done, but we're gonna make it take a little longer by sitting someplace where I'm comfortable and like watching it over there. And I was like looking at the number of dice I was inking, and I realized that like in the last week, I have sanded and cleaned and inked like 15 sets of dice, and that's fucking nuts. Like that's insane. And it's because I work shows and I can burn through product really fast. I have to work at a higher pace. So like forcing myself to take a break, even if it's like my friend saying, "No, you're okay, go to bed."
Yeah.
like having a person who can tell you, "Oh hey, idiot, stop idioting for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna be fine. Go chill."
It's like, and trying to work a personal life in around that too, where you just like, you know, like I have a ritual of like, I like to get up, I like to kind of like stare at the wall for 45 minutes as I try to just like phase my brain back into existence.
Mood.
I like to do some type of like chaotic workout. I flail for fitness. Like I have no idea what I'm doing fitness wise, but I just flop around in my living room for a while and I try to look like Richard Simmons. I'm like, I think he does this kind of a thing. I'll just do 20 of those. That's fine. And then I'll eat a breakfast and like watch something. I don't know. I just put something on the TV and then I go, okay, now I can go into my shop or now I can go into my studio and start the thing. And so as I try to have that chunk of time, and it like it's hard to set that up because you're just looking at it going, I just wasted 20 minutes. I could be 20 minutes into a project right now. But it's just like if you don't, like you're gonna just burn and you're gonna lose an entire day's worth at the ass end of it.
There is something to be said for going into a project with the right headspace, and like I say that firsthand from the last 48 hours because like yesterday I have made 100 bars of soap in the last 2 days because I'm again a crazy person, and I made 50 yesterday and then 50 today. And of the 50 I made yesterday, I knew as soon as I poured 20 of them that they were fucked. Like I knew because I was rushing and I was stressed out and I was overthinking the thing I had to do. Whereas today, it technically probably on paper took me longer, but like I took my time. I did like a live while I did it. I chatted with my dad and like I actively took steps to relax while I was working,
Mm-hmm.
and having that different headspace while I was doing it changed how much more enjoyable that experience was. Like yesterday I was so stressed out at the end of the day. I was like, I'm so mad. Like I have this and today I was like, no, I objectively am proud of that. That was good work. I am happy with that. Like going in, it was all in the going into it though.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize like you forget, and it's a thing you have to remind yourself regularly of like going into something in the right headspace is so important when you are doing this full time. It's not easy. It's not a thing that's gonna come easily or quickly or that you're honestly gonna remember to do all the time. You're gonna have to actively remind yourself to do it.
Mm-hmm. I think it's hilarious the amount of like makers and crafters that come from like 9-to-5s where they had just actively shitty bosses, and then they work for themselves and become an actively shitty boss.
Yeah.
Like, we just treat we go from someone else treating us horribly to we go ahead and treat ourselves horribly.
It's like, I think to a degree, to be a crafter is to be a little masochistic. Like, to actively choose this is to effectively just a little bit be like, I'm gonna be a little masochistic to myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be a little bad to myself.
Well, I realized that I was doing, because I've had some just horrifically shitty bosses, and then when you realize, you're like, oh, I'm Dave now. Shit. God damn it.
Oh,
when
God.
did I become Dave? I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm done.
It's like, I'm done.
Yeah, no. Just like, I strive my entire life now not to be a Dave to myself. I repeat that. I wake up this morning, let's not be Dave.
We're not going to be Dave. Today, we're not going to be Dave.
Okay, it is 9 o'clock. The official end of the stream. So we can do some plugging. I have been actively... My mouse died. No, there it is. I have been actively dropping your GoFundMe in the chat. So
oh, that's so kind of you.
if you want to chat that up for a second.
I will totally chat that up, because otherwise I will get yelled at in the group chat as soon as I log off, because I know they're in here. So fun facts, I currently work out of my bedroom, as we've talked about. Like, the place I pour resin is directly behind me, over my shoulder. And I would love to not do that anymore. So if you're feeling inclined and you want to help this lovely human move out of her bedroom into a shed like a proper adult, you're totally welcome to check the link that was dropped in chat. It'll take you to the GoFundMe. It'll give you all the details, all that fun jazz. But otherwise, you can find me on all social media except for Facebook. Facebook sucks, at SmokingGlueGuns. But there's a Linktree which has all the stuff.
Yeah, I've been dropping that in the chat too.
Yeah, it's got the TikTok and the YouTube and the shop with all the fun fucked up curse dice. But yeah.
Sweet.
All that fun jazz. Oh! Before I run away and the thought runs out of my mind. So, like, I've been trying to glass etch my bottles for my potions, and they won't take armor etch. So we're gonna need to have a chat.
Okay.
Because I might need to send some things along with maybe like a glue gun PNG in like a sandblasting situation. I might need to like. We might need to have some wholesale conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, I keep meaning to do it, and I would forget, and I was like, you know what's a good time to do it? When I'm gonna sit and talk with him for like 2 hours.
God, that is the mood when you're sitting there like, shit, I forgot to do it again. Like, I constantly, like, I need to email this person. I need to email this person. I need to email this person. 12 days later. Damn it!
Yeah, it was like, I literally, there's a sticky note on my wall that says, ask Nyx about sandblasting, which out of context to any other human probably looks insane. Because like, I leave a blank space behind my computer for like sticky notes and bullshit, and I'll just write notes that will make like I think one says, I want to be the alpha uterus, and I don't know why. You think I'm kidding. It says, I want to be the alpha uterus. There's one that I think was a sticker idea that is a piece of pie in a bed, and it says, I sleep a la mode. And it's just nonsense like that.
But in the moment when you wrote it, you're like, this is the greatest thing ever.
Perfect sense.
I'm gonna have I want to be the alpha uterus stuck in my head.
I want to be the alpha uterus.
Forever.
It's I want that as a sticker. But I don't know what that sticker looks like. I just know I want it to say, I want to be the alpha uterus. This is what happens when you live in a house with effectively 4 other women. And like, my mom is menopausal, and the 2 of them aren't there yet. One of them is, and somehow her uterus has decided it gets to be in charge. Because you know how like we're all Bluetooth systems and it all syncs. So like she gets to this. I'm like, that's not fair. I want to be the alpha uterus. This is my time.
Oh, damn it.
That's what you end on. I want to be the alpha uterus.
Right?
It's not going to get better than that.
I'm telling you right now, if you ever write an autobiography...
it's going to be named I Want to Be the Alpha Uterus.
Yeah, you've got the working title right there. That is the absolute best.
Oh, God. This has been fun.
Very much. Like, as soon as I was like, I want to do this, like, you were my first thought.
Aw, I'm honored. I still think you can do better.
I don't. I'm like, but like, you could do better as a host.
I'm just gonna put that in my ego bank and bank that for later.
Just a little bit of serotonin for later.
Just a little bit of serotonin, like, oh,
as a treat.
He said I was the best.
Okay, friends, we're gonna find somebody to raid. I don't
Oh my
even
god,
know
we
who's
love a
on.
raid. Raid somebody fun.
Ooh, Painting Pirate is playing some Sea of Thieves. I rarely see Painting Pirate on, so we're gonna raid on into Painting Pirate. I don't have access to the internet without goofing everything up, so I'm pretty sure Sam, Painting Pirate, pronouns he, him, yes? Waiting for
confirmation.
Yeah. I try to do my homework as much as possible, except for my system is set up weird now. Yes. Thank you, Sam. So pronouns he, him. Everybody be nice in the chat. Thank you, Whitney, so much for being here. You're an absolute delight. And this was a joy to get to talk to you.
It's been a pleasure. Anytime. You have my email now.
Yes.
I can't get rid of you. You're part of the circle. Just accept it now.
Dun, dun, dun. What's the next show you're going to be at?
I will be at Soda City Comic Con this weekend. And then if you're in the Florida area, I'll be at Ancient City Comic Con in September.
Dun, dun, dun. Sweet.
Dun, dun, dun.
Awesome.
That's as far ahead as I'm thinking right now. So if I think any further than that, my brain's going to blow up.
I know that one. All right, friends. Love you dearly. Thank you so much for being here. Have
Bye,
a
fabulous humans.
wonderful rest of your evening, and I will see everybody Friday morning for Friend Chat with Sam.
Yes.
Bye, friends.
Bye.